It's Tappy Chat. It's Tappy Chat. Tappy Chat.
Hello everybody and welcome to a Tappy Chat. Back once again to talk about all things to do with our tiny people that we're parenting or caring for. My name is Miss Alex. I run a Tappy Toes in Forest Hill, and that's how Tappy Chats has grown, has blossomed into its own beast. And I'm joined by another Tappy Toeser today, which I'm very excited about. More to do with her former life, but this is Miss Emma, who teaches up in Formby. I forgot that. I'm looking for a nod. Yeah. But in a former life, Emma was a primary school teacher, and she still tutors now. And the reason I have asked for her former skills is that I really wanted to look at today that transition. You know, we're recording this in January, and a lot of people have just put their submissions in for primary school, and it's that next big step up for everyone. And I think because it's not just a step for the children, it's such a big milestone for us as parents, and we're both parents, Emma and myself, we've been through this as well, that we make it a big thing, then it becomes a bigger thing, and it becomes a big thing for the kids as well. So I thought I would just jump on here and create a little bit of a chat about getting your kids ready for reception or even for preschool, because that's equally sort of a change if it's something you're not used to. So welcome to Tappy Chat, Emma.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's great, and it's great to be here and to just chat with you as well. And I'm sure that there'll be some things that we'll find in common as well that we see in our class for the children and getting them ready as well.
Totally. Yeah, classes and nursery and all of these things are amazing prep for kind of getting kids in that mindset. Because it's huge. Emma has dug me out of a hole recently when I've been trying to teach it within primary schools. So yeah, I'm trusting your judgment today. So where do we start? Emma's created for us in true teacher style a top 10 tips. Try saying that after a few classes that were going to just help us kind of break down things that we could look at, things that we could prepare for school. I mean, I must admit, I shed tears on that first day of school. I was a bit of a wreck. It was such a big leap seeing my little boy go off and be in big school and join what is going to be the next, 10 or so years of sort of school life. So it was big for me. It was big for us. I found the choice very hard. And I think he dealt with it a lot better than I did. So tell us, do you want to start from the bottom to the top? Are they in any particular order, your top 10 tips?
I'll just read them as they are on my screen, I think. But I was just going to say, I can totally relate to you getting emotional. And I think sometimes it is harder for the parents than it is for the child. You know, some of them just seem to seamlessly swim through it, don't they? And make that
kids are so versatile and they're so adaptable. And I think if you handle it in the right way and you make it like a fun thing, it's such an easy transition for them. But as for me, I was just mortified. I didn't leave the school gates. I was waiting 2 hours. They were doing settling in, and I was just there the whole time. But he needs me. It's a big independent step for them. So
it is, and it happens all over again when they go to high school, because that's where my daughter's just gone this September is to high school. So you've got that one as well. So anyway, top tip number one is to build up independence through simple instructions. So when children get to school, they will face a lot of instructions, and they will learn some of those instructions through routine. So they will get used to lots of instructions, and they'll predict some of them as well. And some of the things that you can do to help the children is to say things like put your shoes by the door. That's like a 2-step instruction that you can give your child. Get your coat, wash your hands, and then sit down. Those are the sorts of things they're going to hear when they go to school as well. And it's really key because it builds up listening skills, it builds up their confidence and their independence, which is what we want for them. As much as we want to mother them, we want them to be independent individuals as well. Then children will learn things that have a place and where they go. So if you're telling them to put their shoes back where they belong, they're going to learn that things in the classroom have a place to go as well, which is really important for letting that classroom run smoothly. And at Tappy Toes, we can see that there as well. We do lots of instructions of getting the props out, putting them away, put them in the bucket when they're getting ready for class. I mean, I know, I don't know about you, Alex, but I mean, I've got a 1-year-old who comes at the moment, and her mum is saying to him, put it in the bucket, you know, so that language. And then I've got others that want to bring the props back to the table for me, so I let them know and give them instructions as to what to do there. So I
It's
don't know
very
about yourself.
structured, isn't it? I mean, school is routine and it's, it's the same time and you do breaks at the same time and you do lunch at the same time. And I always found that, well, thank goodness mine went to nursery because I never had that structure at home. And I found it quite helpful to start to try and put that in. So their days always look like, shoes on, coat on, out the house, come back, shoes off, we'll have lunch now, we wash our hands, because it
Yeah,
is very much like that at school. Even getting my son to put his shoes on is, a battle that I salute teachers around the world for because, he's just chaos, they're
yeah,
so little still.
yeah. And I think as well, it's sometimes they want that little bit of control as well, don't they, over what's going on?
Mm,
So giving them a choice, perhaps pick 2 things out. Do you want to wear this today or do you want to wear that today? Right, put your t-shirt on, put your short, or whatever it is that they're doing.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that can help as well. Because sometimes
Hmm.
it can be a battle of wills being a parent, can't it?
Yeah. There's a certain amount that they'll do for a teacher that they won't do at home, and there's that whole sense. I get it now. Mine, a few years into being at school now, but there'll be angels at school, and but when they come home, everything else comes out. All the emotions spill out, all the wildness, all the rebellion. They've been holding it in for a whole school day, so it's quite hard to implement, but
It's,
getting them
and
into a
it's,
structure and a routine is definitely
yeah,
a good
a
idea.
number of times I've heard that from a parent as well at parents' evening saying, oh, they don't behave like that at home.
No. It's a completely different personality. I was like, are you still
Yeah.
talking about my son? No, no. Um, yeah, funny. Even
Yeah.
like recognizing their names, I know it's early days and some kids get it, some kids don't, but everything's named at school. You have your peg
Hmm.
with your name on it, and just being able to sort of recognize your name is a great kind of step to getting ready to school, getting ready to
Yeah, that's
learn.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so my top tip number
cool.
2 is to share books every day. Now, I'm not talking about teaching your child to read or anything like that, but sharing
Mm,
books, read regularly because it will help them so much. There's like so much language in books that's modeled in
mm,
books, and they will pick up all that vocabulary and language that they need. They'll learn
mm,
the structure of a story, they'll learn about predictability and things like that. They'll learn about inference and relating to characters and all those really important skills that we need in the early years.
mhm,
Um, there was an article that I heard about the other day that said that there's a lot of children arriving now not knowing how to use a book because they can't turn the pages and things like that. So it's really important that children can turn the pages and talk about the pictures that they see and that they get that
yeah,
experience of holding a book. And,
mm,
we've still got libraries around and it's great to go to the library. They love that experience of going to the library and choosing a book and choosing the things that they enjoy, and
mm,
just immersing them in books and getting that sense of pleasure in that
yeah,
way is brilliant. I mean, like I said, it's not about formally learning how to read because they will do so much of that at school anyway once they
mhm,
get started. And some of them might pick up some sounds and words along the way, and that's great if they do. But it's not
yeah,
about sitting down and saying you must learn these letter sounds or whatever that
mm,
is, or the alphabet even. Um,
yeah,
and if they want to help with the reading process, they can play sound games, which can be like even as simple as identifying an instrument or a sound that they can hear in nature and things like that. Or an I Spy game. Can you point to something that begins with and do the letter sounds so that they can spot those things? That will really, really help them.
yeah,
Um, and then at Tappy Toes, obviously, we have our imaginative section, don't we, where we create stories and give a structure to stories. And it's a little bit like role play. So it really
mhm,
immerses them in that language
yeah,
and the things that they can do and where a story can go, even just like when we do an adventure to a beach or an adventure to the circus or an adventure to the woods, you're making stories all the time and kids love it. They
So
absolutely love
not
it.
just reading books, but telling stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like I used to always read to my kids at night, going to bed, but then it was always associated with bedtime, and they were always quite tired. So
Mhm.
I think, yeah, I quite like that idea of just doing something in the middle of the day or at different points, just having a bit of like a trip to the library or making books a bit more than just part of your sort of bedtime routine and getting those characters, because those characters come up, don't they, all the time.
Yeah.
You go to reception and they'd be doing the Gruffalo or the this or the that, and if they've read those stories, they've got that sort of connection already to it.
And even if you're going on a walk somewhere, you could like make up a
Mm,
little story together, and what characters do you think could be in the woods today? It's that sort of
yeah.
thing, getting that context and things. And the other thing I
Mm.
will say is that when the school book does come home, because there's such a moment there, and it's like first school book, yay! It's more important to enjoy it than to labour over it. So if you find that
Right.
that your child comes home with a book and it's getting to be hard work because they're sounding out every single word and it's taking them time to do that, it's
Mm.
okay to read a
Yeah.
page and they read a page and do your turn, my turn, or even copying, because they will
Mm.
hear that inflection of the voice and how to be expressive and all that sort of thing. Um,
Mm.
and I remember as well when I was teaching in reception, I would have parents that would come in and say, well, we covered up all the pictures and they couldn't read it. And it's like, don't cover up the
Yeah.
pictures, because those children need the cues and the clues to
Yeah.
build up those reading skills and to build up the enjoyment
Mm.
of reading,
And
and
there's such a
it's a,
different range, aren't they? Sorry, I was
yeah.
talking right over you there. I was just thinking about sort of when they start in reception, like you were saying, you can have the older kids that are nearly 5 and the younger ones that are so little. Like mine was the youngest in class, and
Mhm.
he couldn't read. He was nowhere near reading. And I felt that kind of pressure. It's like, oh no, they're actually reading. But we just read together and we read together, we read together until, I mean, he's a brilliant reader now. It just, they all kind of catch up. But yeah, that pressure of those first books that come home and you're like, right, you should be able to read this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it takes practice, and it takes a lot of practice. So,
yeah,
let it take its time, and let it roll out as it will. But the
mm,
important thing is that enjoyment, and that's one thing I would say is that they need to sort of enjoy reading, because it's a hard skill to learn. So, but they will,
yes,
they
yeah,
will, they'll do it.
yeah.
And there's so much phonics and things that go on in school, they're not going to
Oh my
get missed.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's so different. I was like, I don't remember doing this. Yes, we were lucky. Our school took the parents in a few times and actually showed us how they were teaching it and how we can help. So yeah, it's not you're not suddenly thrown in trying to sound out a word in ways that I've never done before. I was like, it's an A. No, it's an ah.
That's brilliant. Right,
Oh,
so top tip number 3 is to
yep.
put the phone down. Now, I can totally, this is a message for me as well, because I know how often, you'll hear the phone ping and you're just checking that email and replying and
Mhm.
responding, or, you just want a bit of downtime for yourself just to sort of do whatever you're doing on scrolling on Facebook and Instagram or whatever it is that you're using. But it is a distraction, and it's important for little ones particularly to have some quality time with you every day. If you can put it down for an hour, brilliant, and just immerse themselves in chat and conversation, maybe even playing together. It just gives an opportunity to have a break from that technology and for them to have your full attention. I mean, I've had it with my kids as well. They're getting a bit older and they'll say something to me and I'm just like that. And I was like, yeah, yeah. And then it's like, I haven't really took in what they've said at all, which is,
Yeah.
it makes me feel quite guilty. And then it's like, actually, put your phone down, go and have a conversation with them properly,
Mm.
and just spend
Just
some time with them. Even at
yeah.
15, and my oldest is 15, and I still have to do that, and with them as well, because obviously they've got their
Yeah.
phones. But, it's children need it, and they need it
Yeah.
right the way through their school life.
Mm.
I mean, and in terms of tappy toes, when they come to a session, obviously we don't have our phones out. We're all dancing together. It's a free time, and it really builds those strong bonds. You really see
Mm,
those connections between parent and child on child as well, because,
mm,
it's all about the social skills with everybody, isn't it?
yeah. And would you say to have those little moments and of conversation about school and what's coming, or not to labour it too much? Because if you keep banging on about it, they're going to start to get really like aware of it.
So the conversations don't have to be about school, particularly in the build up towards
Mm,
going to school. They can be about anything that the child brings up, or
yeah.
something that they've done that day that they really enjoyed. What was something
Mm,
really good about today? Who made you laugh today? Who made you smile today? Or
yeah.
was there a favorite moment that you had? Is there something that you've done that you're really proud of?
Mm,
And I think that's coming later down in my list as well, about being positive about school. So I can go into that a bit more as well
yeah. Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they do a lot of kind of oral learning and a lot of sharing circles and being able to just get up and be confident enough to sort of say, "Oh, I like this," or "I did that," is
Yeah.
massive for
I
a
think the
lot of
other thing is,
kids.
sorry, I spoke over you then.
That's
I
right.
think the other thing is as well is some children don't talk about school. You'll ask them, how was the day? My daughter was a classic for that.
Yes. Oh my
Nothing. Oh,
goodness.
yeah.
Yeah.
She was like that. And it's like she didn't want to delve into the conversation of school. But
Mm,
anything I said about school, I'd keep it positive. And then whenever she spoke about something, you know, great, fantastic. But it wasn't very often. And that is very, very normal.
yeah.
They're still
Yeah.
exhausted. They just don't want to
It's
talk
quite
about it.
stimulating, isn't it? I think I never got any information, and he'd often just say, "Oh, I don't remember," and I think, how can you not remember what you had for lunch? But there's so much going on in the course of the day, and their brains are here, there, and everywhere. I genuinely think they just filter it out. Trying to retain all that information is quite a lot.
Mm,
It's particularly if they haven't been necessarily in a nursery setting or any kind of like structure like that. It's suddenly a lot going on. I mean, reception is very much still learning and play learning, but it's in a very different sort of setting and style. And there's a lot of kids. Suddenly you're with a big class, or certainly, I'm referencing London schools, the classrooms are quite big.
mhm.
So yeah, there's endless things going on.
Yes. Yeah, I would say that's across
Yeah.
the board, really. All schools
Mm,
have large classrooms and lots of things going on, definitely.
yeah.
And I liken it to somebody coming to you and saying, "How was work today? What did you
Yeah.
do at work today?" And it's like,
Yeah.
I can't remember. I can't tell you now what I've been doing this morning.
No,
Do you know what I
no,
mean? It's like,
exactly. It's not natural to go back and go, well, I did this at 9 o'clock and then I moved on to that and then I did this. But yeah, because we're not there. And I think
yeah,
it's a classic kind of parent in the first years of primary school as well. We want to know. I want to know what's going on. I want to see. At nursery, I had a WhatsApp, I'd get messages. I'd have an app. I knew exactly what they'd eaten, how many nappies were changed, when they did this, that, and the other. And suddenly I get nothing. And
yeah,
yeah, I think it's probably more for us. You've got to definitely, as a parent, put yourself in their shoes and go, oh gosh, yeah, there's a lot going on
yeah.
today. I
And
try and get an emotion out of him normally at the end of the day. I was like,
yeah,
is it a happy day? Is it? And I see a lot of schools do like emotional sort of regulate, they have the different faces for different levels of emotion, and you have to start
yes,
recognizing whether you're feeling this or whether you're feeling that and starting to
yeah,
put a name towards it. So I think the best I can get, other than a grunt and a, oh no, is yeah, it was a good day. I had fun, or oh yeah, I
yeah,
was a bit nervous today. And
yeah.
I can work with that.
Yeah, that's good, and that's all quite normal as well. And those transitions
Yeah,
can continue, because as they get higher up the school, in some schools you might not get that face-to-face contact with the teacher as they move on, whereas at least
yeah,
most reception classes you do get that face-to-face teacher contact. And I used to go when I was collecting my children from school, it would be, if the teacher's got nothing to say to me, then everything's okay.
it's a good day.
It's the end.
If the teacher
Good
says,
news is
well,
good
we need
news.
to work on listening, then you go, oh no, he's been bad all day.
I know. And then the greeting you get sometimes when you do go across the playground to a parent, this is talking as a teacher now, and they look, they're like, oh my goodness, what do they want? And it's like, You might just handing over a message just to say something. It's not all bad news either when the teacher comes across. So, be open-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
use
I'd love an intel on the teacher code, because I'm sure there's like nice soft words you use for, oh, he was a bit wild today. Yeah, a lot of energy today. Yeah,
So, but sometimes it can just be, oh, they bumped their head today. Here's another certificate for them to put on the wall of
Yeah,
injuries and stuff. So yeah.
yeah,
So it's not all because of bad reasons and stuff. And sometimes teachers do come out and say like sound good news and say really good things about your child as well. So it's,
yeah.
it does happen.
And I think if you're teaching reception particularly, I mean, obviously you're dealing with a lot of parents that, I mean, it could be a second sibling, but a lot of first time school parents, do you sort of go, are you quite open about being accessible and allowing them to kind of ask questions, or do you prefer them to message in? I
Me
mean, they're as
personally,
nervous as the kids.
yeah. Me personally, I was always open to having conversations
Yeah,
with teachers and things. But teachers, the schools will have particular rules for some schools. So
yeah,
my son went to one school, and it was literally you handed them over, and in they went. You didn't get to see the cloakroom, you didn't see them in the classroom, and that was it. They were in, and that kind of suited me as well because I am one of these parents that's like, right, off you go, and then I can be
yeah,
emotional. Then that's okay.
yeah.
Because they've gone in, but that's how they did it. And he settled really
Mm,
well and he was fine with that. My
mm,
daughter went to a different school because we'd moved house by the time she went to school, and they did these one day in or a couple of days in, and then a other
yeah.
half of the class was in, and all that sort of stuff. And so schools can vary, is what I'm
Mhm,
saying. Is some teachers will be on the door, they'll be ready to speak to you, um, and some schools may not allow it quite in the same way. They may
yeah.
prefer you to message a teacher so that they've got the sort of ownership of when they reply to you.
Mm,
But I mean, talking to people, I always found was better because
yeah,
it's like when you pick up the phone, isn't it? How many of
yeah.
us sort of put off a phone call, but actually, when we've made that phone call, it feels a whole lot better than an email. Does that
Yes.
make
Yeah.
sense? It's
Yeah,
kind of the same.
completely. Yeah.
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 So yes. So
Great.
that's where I stand on that one. So
Hmm.
right. So number 4, life skills really matter. So when I talk about that, that's sort of those life skills where we're using cutlery and putting on coats and getting dressed and all those things.
Yes.
Those
Yeah.
things do matter. It will make school life a lot easier for your child if they are able to dress themselves, put on their coat. It builds their independence and their confidence and things like that. Now, it's not to say that every school will be able to go into school able to zip up that coat because we know how fiddly zips are. We get it.
Mm,
But you can break those skills down. It's like you do the first part of the zip and then they pull it up and then try and match the little catch thing at the bottom if they can. That's the next
yeah.
step. We know that things are fiddly and not always easy to manage. And socks. You might have found this going into nurseries.
Oh,
Kids take the socks off and then they're at the end taking forever to put them on.
constantly trying to find socks and put them on. Or with my son, we've changed primary schools recently, but the new school the previous school was no school uniform. This one has a school uniform, and we realised he'd never worn like formal trousers that weren't just pull-ons.
Mm,
They had a zip and they had a hook, so we had to spend a morning or an evening rehearsing. Because my biggest
yeah,
fear is he wouldn't be able to take his trousers off to go to the bathroom, and I was like, we need to practice, and we made it fun, and he quite enjoyed learning the skill. But yeah, it's the little things you don't even think of, because at nursery they'd have someone to help them, and
yeah,
it's not always the case when there's less carers per group, and they need to just have that independence. I would just always say, as a parent who did this, don't send them in laces, please. If you've got a
yeah,
choice, send them in Velcro. Trying to teach them to tie up laces and deal with laces is something I still, at nearly 7, have not mastered. And yeah, when I'm teaching an after school club and they've all taken the shoes off and you've got to put them all back on again, and you go, laces, 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 right, form a cue. This is going to take a while.
yeah,
Yes, Velcro
yeah.
is your friend.
It is certainly in those early years. I mean, I think there's quite a lot of Velcro shoes on the market right throughout primary now, I think, aren't there? But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and laces. There was some at some point in my career I did see on the PSHE curriculum tying shoelaces.
really.
And I think it was
Well,
indeed to
it's
ring
fine
them.
motor skills, isn't it?
It's
And it's
really
actually quite hard. It's
yeah,
like my son is really struggles with that. He struggles with writing and holding a pen. But yeah, laces is next level drama, and he will just let them run and trip over them. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I'd put it on the
yeah.
curriculum.
And the other sort of life skills I was going to mention as well is using a knife and fork, because obviously they're going to be going
Mm.
into school. You may well choose for them to have the school dinners. They are free when they go to school
Hmm.
at the moment. And there will be staff around to help them cut up the food, but it is, again, it's easier if they can be independent, they can manage it themselves.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we underestimate how independent little ones can be. I mean,
Hmm.
I've seen in nurseries personally since doing Tappy Toys, you've got the babies who have the bottles and they're fed by the carers, and then you get them independently using the sippy cup. That then moves on to the open cups. And then I was doing finishing off a session and packing away, and it was tea time at the nursery. And the preschool room, they were laying the table, and then when they sat down, they had a little jug with a lid on it, and they were pouring their own drinks and then
Yes.
passing the jug to the next child. And I thought that was amazing. That was really good to see. So it shows that
Yeah.
it can be done. And if they have been lucky enough to go to nursery and do that sort of thing, great, they're going to find that
Yeah.
a whole lot easier.
Yeah, my son's nursery, I mean, he's 3. They take their plates up to the sink and they scrape the plates into the bin. I was like, wow. And
Yeah,
so now that he has to do that at home, which is, it's messy, but it's great because it's just teaching him to tidy up, put it away. They do pour their own drinks. Yeah, and just carrying a tray. I remember my son didn't have lunch a couple of times at school because he dropped his tray. It's just the juggle of like a tray with a, drink on it and some food
yeah,
on it. So, oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Back in the days of those plastic trays.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tip number 5. So foster
Hmm.
toilet training and hygiene routines. Now, I do sit here understanding that there are some children who, by the time they get to school, haven't managed to be toilet trained due to
Mm.
a medical need or an additional need. So those aren't the children we're talking about here. The children we're talking about here is being toilet trained before school is going to really help them to feel secure
Yeah.
and confident. And it's more about their own comfort and dignity. It's those little
Yeah.
things they need to learn, that whole toileting routine and knowing when to go. And a
Hmm.
little tip, encourage them to flush the toilet. The number of times you go to the toilet and you see stuff in there. So,
Yes.
and
I mean,
following up
I
with
think yeah. My boys will be 18 and still not doing that. I mean, I shout at them all the time, but they will have accidents, though. It does happen, they
yeah,
all do. And that is part and parcel of being in a different routine and, maybe being a bit shy to ask to go or just they go at certain times. So, you've got to be prepared for it's not going to be 100%, but yeah, the more you can kind of try and drill them, the better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of
Oh,
the things I was going to say is have a spare pair of underwear in their bag, and
yeah.
and sometimes it can just be they're totally engrossed in something that they forget to go, or they're so
Mm.
engrossed and excited by it that they know they need to go, but they leave it till the very last minute and then don't make it to the toilet. So,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does happen, it can happen. And also to follow up with a hand washing routine, that's really, really important because there was
Hmm.
I remember there was a really good demonstration of how to show how germs spread. And what you do is you get a little tiny, tiny, tiny bit of glitter on your hands,
Oh.
and you put your hand in glitter, and then you go and put your hands on your child's hands, and some of that glitter will transfer to your child's hands. And it's the same with germs. So it's sort of sending them that message that hand washing after they've been to the toilet is really, really important.
Oh my
So,
goodness, yeah, because
but
it's
it's
definitely
obviously it's
a
encouraged in
germ.
nurseries,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. they will catch everything. I mean, that's part and parcel of either starting a preschool, starting a nursery, starting
Mhm.
school. There's a new bunch of kids, and yeah, everything from the colds to the nits. It all kind of it does the circuit. So yeah, anything you can do to slightly reduce that, yeah,
All the better.
absolutely. Oh, nits. Oh,
I know, it just makes your skin crawl. Mention the word and everybody's scratching their heads then, aren't
oh, yeah.
they?
Mm.
So, the dreaded
Right, we're
letter.
doing great. Yes, back home going there.
Yeah. Right.
Yours was the source.
Well, you just get it in general. Somebody in the class has had knits. We'll just let you know, so everybody needs to get the knit comb out and go through the hair.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, number 6, stimulate curiosity through play and nature. So your little ones will still be very, very curious. Just because they're going to school doesn't mean that curiosity stops. That need for play doesn't stop. And in fact,
Hmm.
the best way of learning, I believe, is through play at this age for sure. Get outside, explore things, notice things together, encourage them to ask questions and wonder about something. Like, I wonder
Mm,
if a pine cone floats in water. That sort of thing could stimulate the learning, and then they want to experiment
mm.
with more things, so then they're taking ownership of their own learning then as well.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
they're curious like that, they're engaged learners, which is what you want to see, and that's how they have great success at school as well. The more
Mm.
experiences they have, the more they've got to go on with their own knowledge, and it
Yeah, just
helps.
widening their experience from in the home to out and just the wider world.
And it and it
Oh.
and it expands that vocabulary and things as well, which
Hmm.
is which is really important for kids. And the love of learning starts at home, and even when they're at school, most of the time, even though they're at school most of the time, they're actually with you for far longer still, even when they're at school. So you have 6 hours
Yeah.
at school, but the rest of the time they're at home with their caregivers plus the
Hmm.
weekends, so
Yeah.
they do still have a lot of time with you at home. So it has to be a real sort of, you know, balance of play and learning
Yeah, I was
together.
going to say balance is the key word
Yeah,
there, definitely, because
yeah,
yeah, you don't want to. I always felt that my kids, there's so much stimulation and learning once they start. I felt like they needed to decompress a little bit. So they needed to
absolutely.
blow off steam, they needed to get away from it, but at the same time, picking up on what they're doing and making it fun because
Yeah,
I get the dreaded homework bag out. Oh, I don't want to do that. And,
yeah,
"Oh, I don't wanna do that." It's like it's 3 minutes worth of homework. It's like
yeah,
nothing, but it's like I've been learning all day, So
yeah,
it's I sort of do awful
yeah.
impressions of my son, but yeah, just kind of like finding a nice way to make it fun to learn and fun
Yeah, and
to
every child is
link
different,
in.
because some
Yeah,
decompress by going out in the garden and kicking a ball around or something.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
every child is different, and there's no
Mm,
right or wrong way of doing it. It is finding that
mm,
balance.
yeah.
Um,
Because
so
I
yeah,
assumed they'd be so tired after school. I didn't book in any form of extra activities after school. I just thought, oh, they want to be quiet, they want to just eat, but I realized that actually having that much stimulation and new things going on, they need to decompress, but also I found like there was a second burst of energy later on because
yeah,
sometimes maybe they're behaving not behaving themselves in school, but they're part of a structure and they're doing some learning or
mm,
so that there's a sense that there's still a bit of energy in there to kind of burn out. So I actually very quickly went the other way and was like, oh, you still got a thirst for knowledge or a thirst for this, or you still need to
yeah,
do something else before you're completely over the day. So we ended up doing swimming or doing God, what's he doing now? Fencing or sort of cooking or some other more learning but more physical,
yeah,
just to kind of like complete their day in a way. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I think a lot of parents steer away from clubs and after school clubs and things thinking, oh, they've had enough, they've been there all
yeah.
day. But kids
But I
have a
think
lot
it's
of
also
energy.
important that they need familiarity as well, because school
Yeah.
is a new thing and it's a new routine. If they've got
Mm,
something that's already familiar to them that they enjoyed, they're going to enjoy going back to it. they're going to
Yeah,
enjoy
true.
having that
Yeah.
consistency throughout, and it's something that you
Mm.
can hold as a consistent thing as well whilst they're getting used to school and the new routines at school and things. So it's, you can
Yeah, that's true,
incorporate
actually.
some balance to
Yeah.
that too,
Yeah. Hmm.
So top tip number 7 is encourage social skills. So this is learning to take turns, understand sharing and independence,
Hmm.
and knowing that when that's not working for them, that they can go and ask for help. And that's what the
Yeah.
grown-ups are there for, and they will do a lot of learning about how to socialize with other people and how to take turns. So,
Hmm.
it's important that it's a collaborative thing, like a collaborative way of working. So yeah, practice taking turns at home, so playing
Hmm.
games and stuff like that. I love board games and stuff. My kids still do, which is great. And in play groups. I mean, watch your child at a play group and see what they do, see how they try
Mm.
and sort out a little problem. Can they manage it on their own, or do they need a little bit of support? And if they do, just step in and give them that support. It's
Hmm.
I used to have a thing as well, whereas with my children, the toys at home belonged to them, so that they had ownership of whether they shared them or not. And this was probably more for the sibling rivalry, sort of balance. But toys that were out in playgroups or at classes that we went to had to be shared because everybody's come to that class to share them. And I think,
Yeah.
people have different views about sharing and what it means. But that was a
Mm.
personal thing to me that, like, well, those are your things because they've been bought for you, and it is up to you whether you share them or not. I'd encourage it. I'll try and encourage them to share because
Yeah.
you want them to know how the other person might be feeling,
Mm.
and having that little bit of starting to build up that empathy side of
Mm.
things as well for them.
Mm.
So it's getting that balance, isn't it, of sharing and taking turns
Yeah.
and
I think
things.
it's definitely the hardest in reception. There were a lot of incidents of biting or pushing or hitting, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh my goodness, this is wild!" And the teacher was like, "No, no, this is normal. This is them finding their balance and
Yep.
learning how to negotiate and learning how to deal with emotions and share, and this is what will happen." And she kind of really normalized it for me because I was horrified that either my
Yeah.
child had been bitten or he'd bitten someone. And I was like, this,
Yeah.
this is nursery. Why are they doing it at school? But she's like, it's really, really common while they're getting used
Yep.
to a shared facility that they're all in, and the emotions of someone's created something out of cardboard and someone else has come in and trashed it, and they
Yeah.
just need to process that. Yeah, play groups are great. Any kind of shared experience that's maybe not in the home so much.
Well, we
I would
even see it in
imagine.
Tappy Toes, don't we? It's like, I
Oh,
want the
thank
pink
goodness.
scarf.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you run out
yeah,
of pink scarves, and it's like, well, we've got to take turns at using the pink scarf, and some of them are very good actually at sharing and
yeah,
taking turns, and or they'll do their twirl first and then they'll pass the pink scarf on and that sort of thing.
yeah.
But it's all those
Mm,
learning curves, and
yeah,
and I think it's great that we can support, the sharing and
mm.
taking turns within our classes, even taking turns to speak. Some children like
Yes,
to
I like you put your hand up. Yeah. Yeah.
and
I've
some
actually got
children
them
do
recently queuing up to do things. So, like, if we were doing a 12, I'll get them to form a queue. I mean, there's always a
yeah,
little bit of a dogfight to who gets first place, but just being able to queue up for something and wait your turn and then go and do it is amazing. It seems so simple, but it is such, like queuing up for lunch. They do that at my youngest son's nursery, and apparently he's been known for constantly just pushing people out of the way to get to the front of the queue. He's very food motivated, but just being able to sort of wait your turn, and it will be the mantra that's my autobiography, is like, wait your turn. But
brilliant.
yeah, we're a
Yeah,
nation that likes to queue, and we like a bit of order, and you'll get a
yeah,
lot of it at school. So
it
yeah.
is, and like you said before, it is a skill that they are learning. And I think even, I mean, if you think of some adults as they get older, some adults
Oh
find it
wow.
hard as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Driving a car, how many people push in front of you? and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a massive, massive skill, and
Yeah.
it's not surprising we have this biting and hitting and things going on sometimes,
Mm.
because they are learning,
Yeah. Yeah,
So I'm
completely.
not condoning that biting or hitting is right by any means at all. It's a
Just,
reaction. It's a
yeah.
reaction that children have. It's one of their tools. And as teachers, what we do is teach them not to use those tools, but to use other tools instead.
Yeah.
Like thinking a situation through. So yeah.
Great. Oh, we're
Right.
getting there. We're nearly
We
there.
are. We're on top tip number 8 now. So I think this actually ties in really well with what we've just been talking about, and to understand behaviour before using the term bullying. So, I have had parents who've come in and said, my child's being bullied. And it's like after one incident of something happening. Now, the definition of bullying is that it is a repeated intentional behaviour. So one incident, and it can be quite serious. Like you were saying, your child has experienced biting and hitting and that sort of thing. It can be quite serious, but often it is the children learning those social skills that's going on there.
Yeah.
Not necessarily bullying. And I'm not saying bullying doesn't happen in schools, because it does, and we know it does. And there are procedures to follow in schools when that occurs. But it's just looking at the behaviour before sort of labelling it like this. So things
Yeah.
like, what did they do? What did they do to you? How did it make you feel? Those sorts of questions are really, really important, so that you can get a picture of what's going on. And more often than not, the children will home in on a tiny bit of information about that incident and not the information that's come before it. They'll either admit it, or they'll just struggle to even recall it because they're so shocked that something's happened to them that they can't remember the information that happened before it. So it's unpicking what has actually happened before,
and trying to unpick it without judgment, which I find really hard, particularly if your child's maybe the perpetrator. Not saying that always happens, but sometimes you're like, right, I need to not be angry. I need to not be, accusatory, because it could be it's a simple learning, it's a simple misunderstanding, and trying to kind of be that safe place they can tell you the truth, and they can tell you, their truth. I mean, you'll find 5 other different versions of it, and it's overwhelmingly frustrating trying to unpick it. But it's very quick as a parent to almost be ashamed and embarrassed and sort of take that out on the child. Whereas I've very much learned that certainly at this young age, it's just really sort of encouraging and not being too judgmental, and just going, just tell me the truth and it's absolutely fine. Whatever's happened, we'll learn from it together and we'll work out a different way to do it next time. And I've had to really teach myself how to do that, because there's a whole other thing going on with parents. You're in front of other parents, you might be at the school gates, and you're hearing this information, and you don't want to look like you're commending your child for this behavior, so you're like, oh, I'm so sorry everybody, what have you done? Which is just going to cause them to shut down. So
it's very hard though, isn't it, when you're in that situation? Very hard.
Dealing with being kind of in that situation as a parent is really it's new to us.
It's tricky. And it's also tricky as well when you hear that something's happened to your child and things like that. That can be really hard to sort of hear it. But if you do think that something is happening with your child that you're not happy with, obviously go and talk to the teacher about it, and they may have some insight on what's going on or what's happening. And they can't always tell you everything, because there is a level of confidentiality when it comes to certain things, because there might be a child in the class who's got additional needs, but they can't tell you that, because that might be confidential information, and they might be putting strategies in place. It's just your child may have fallen victim to something that's happened on an occasion. So just be mindful that they can't always tell you the information. It's not because they are hiding
being
it.
evasive.
Okay, so and the other thing is to give your child some tools as well, let them use their words to stop things. Say, I don't like that to a child, or please stop, or that hurt
Mm.
my feelings, those sorts of things. They will really help your child to sort of handle those things independently.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, if they feel that they're not being listened to by that child, then go and see the teacher. I mean, as a teacher, I always used to encourage children to tell that person, they'd come say, this has happened, and I'd say, have you told them that you don't like that happening? Have you told them to stop chasing you? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's, yeah, no. And they come straight to, well, go and tell them that you don't like that. And then
Mm.
if they don't stop, come and find me.
Oh, I'm going
Yeah.
to steal that one for after school club. The number of kids that come up to me and go, he just hit me, he jumped on me. And you're like, oh, well, that's not very kind. Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
be like, well, did you tell him you don't want to be jumped on? Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
write that down. Mental
Yeah.
note. Thank you, Emma.
And the other thing is to trust the school to observe it and support and guide their social development. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Right, number 9, top tip number 9, talk about school positively. We've done a little bit of this already
Mm,
earlier on in the
mm.
podcast. So, but remind the children that the school days are short. You don't want them to hear that, oh, it's a long day for you, isn't it? But it feels
Yes.
long, but it is quite short. Probably shorter. It's actually probably for some children shorter than a nursery day,
Yes, much
because some
shorter.
children are in
Yeah.
nursery from the crack of dawn till dusk, and school can be shorter for some children. Not all,
Mm.
obviously, but yeah. Build up the excitement. It's an exciting adventure. They're going to go to somewhere where they're going to learn lots. They're going to get to play lots. They're going to, be able to do lots of different things and, make lots of friends and things like that. So, build up the
Yes.
excitement for them.
Yeah.
As a parent, always avoid saying, I will miss you. As hard as that is,
Oh,
hard,
yes.
it puts the focus on you rather than school and them. So
Yes.
it's a hard one not to say. Say it in your head,
Mm.
definitely. But then they start to think, oh, you're going to miss me because I'm going to be away for so long. It sort of gets them thinking about you rather
Triggers
than
it,
what
doesn't it?
in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So my eldest was always really independent, swanned into every situation full of confidence. But even he, I think it was day 3 of school, it was like middle of the week, had an absolute wobble about going in, really, to the point that we had to go in with him and sit there for sort of a period of time. And yeah, I don't know if I'd have used different language and not been like, well, I miss you, but I'll see you soon, or any of that you don't even think that you're saying, or you'll think that you're saying it because it's like a lovely warm gesture for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I miss you, I love you, be good. All of that is really tough to like send them off to
Yeah.
school with.
Say
Oh,
something like,
yeah.
I hope you have a fabulous day, and I look
Yeah,
forward to
go
hearing it
do amazing
back.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. The other one I've had as well as a teacher is when they come in and they're feeling a bit poorly and stuff like that, and you hear the parents say to the child, I'll tell the teacher that you can ring me if you still don't
Ooh,
feel very well, because then all that happens then is they're thinking, are you going to ring my mum now? Are you going to ring my mum now? And I have had that
yeah,
all day with some, are you going to ring my mum now?
yeah,
She said I can go home. So try and avoid that in front of them. Obviously message
yeah,
the teacher. They're not, if they're off colour and you think that, the teacher needs to be aware that they're not feeling so great and that you are available to come and pick them up should they need to. Yes, let
yeah.
the teacher know, but not in front of your
Mm.
child. Because then they're not trying to get on with their day. If you're
Yes, yeah,
sort of wavering about whether they should be in or not and you want them to go in and try, you need to set them up in the best way possible for them to
yeah.
try and stay.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that. Probably done that tons of times. Yeah. Oh, wise words. This
Yeah.
is great. Wonderful.
Um, but I mean, the other way to sort of reframe it is, I'm sure your teacher will let me know if you're not feeling very well. That's a
Yeah.
different way, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And the other thing is just be prepared to listen to the staff at school, because they've got the same goal as you ultimately. They want the best for your child, and the strongest part, strong partnerships make a huge difference to the
Mm,
success of your child at school, you know, and
mhm.
their experience and things. So remember that the teacher is working with you because they're going, they ultimately they want the same. You know,
Yeah,
we want our children to do the best that they possibly can. We want them to be happy. You know, I've yet to have come across a teacher who hasn't felt that way that I've worked with. You know, it's, you know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah. Right. And
Oh,
number 10, our last
okay.
one, number 10. So, oh, yeah, expect mess and bumps in the road. So when you go to reception, there's water, there's sand, there's paint,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
mud
mud.
kitchens, there's all sorts of stuff. And messy clothes are usually a sign that they've been having fun and that they've been working independently, which is ultimately what we want for our children and we want them to learn. It's not always easy when you come home and you think, that's a white t-shirt, how am I going to get that stain out?
Yeah, yeah,
But just do the best that you can with it, you know, when you put it through the washing machine, we get it, you know, teachers have clothes that are covered in paint too sometimes. So it's like, you know, the number of times I've just caught my sleeve in paint or something and
yeah,
ruined my clothes. It happens. It happens.
yeah.
So, you know, it's
The amount of
yeah.
jumpers my son has lost and just abandoned into some mud kitchen somewhere,
Um,
that yeah, it's glorious. They get absolutely filthy, and then clothes just get scattered to the four winds. So yeah, be prepared. Don't get emotionally attached to any form of clothing that you send them in with, and if you are, then label that thing 5 times over, because
that's
they're
right.
gonna lose stuff, they're gonna scuff things, they're gonna, yeah, it's. If you can
And
get
the
it
other thing,
secondhand, I really would.
yeah, and if you can get those little stickers or something that you can put on name labels, that can help
Hmm.
as well. Because if the child doesn't recognise their name, there's always a sticker on the label that's unique to them.
That's a good idea,
And then
yes, because they often all turn up with the same water bottle at the beginning of term. You're like, ah, how on
yeah,
earth are we ever going to tell all of these bottles? I've given up how many bottles
yeah.
I've bought for him, but
Oh my
yeah, it's
goodness. Just
something.
drop them once and they're cracked and that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know what I've done with it. And you're like, oh, another water bottle.
Yeah,
But yeah, I let him pick them as well. So it was a nice like lead up to school. I was like, right, what water bottle are you going to take into school, and what
yeah,
shoes are we going to wear? And it was that was the nice part of it. But little did I know that would be the 100th, visit to go and get yet another bottle that
yes.
he's lost. So yeah, I wouldn't sweat it. I would just
No,
try not to send them in the most expensive, pristine things, because
that's it.
yeah,
Yeah. And I
yeah,
think a lot of schools are onto it really because I think
mm,
certainly in our area there are schools that have like the polo necks for their
yes,
infant
yeah,
children and not always compulsory to have the school logo on it all the
yeah,
time. So I mean, you'd have to read your school uniform policy and see. To then in the juniors they have the shirt and the ties and things like that. So I think a lot of schools are onto it, and I think most schools now as well still adopt the since COVID going to school in PE kit when it's PE days and stuff like that. I think most
yeah. Ours
schools
has just stopped
probably get
doing
rid of
that,
it.
which is an
Oh, have they?
absolute faff. So only recently this term. So yeah, he has
Okay.
to go in and change, and yeah, that's then a lost jumper, or a skill that we're working on. But yeah, being able to change your clothes and then keep your clothes safe. I mean, that's
It's
a
amazing.
it's a
Amazing.
life hack. But yeah, certainly
It's,
for a reception though, I think they would, yeah, you'd go in and be in your PE kit all day, because
yeah.
that's a lot of changing children at that age.
Well, I mean,
Um,
that's how I started my career because it was 23 years ago, which was pre-COVID, and that's what we
mm,
used to do. And it used to take, used to spend half the PE lesson getting changed, and you'd always have
yeah,
one that was lingering still, not changed.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, we had
yeah,
forest school as well, so we had to like take them in forest school, sort of
yeah,
overalls and coveralls and wellies, and then it would all
yes,
come back like a big crusted bag of mud would come back to you at the end of the day.
love it.
Yeah.
So, and the other one on that I would say is have a snack ready for your school, for your child after school because they will be hungry after. It's the same as tappy
Mm,
toes.
mm,
90% of parents, I think, give their child a snack straight after tappy toes.
yeah.
Um, and just expect some bumps along the way. Things will happen, and that's just because children are learning. It's completely normal that like
Mm.
something will happen along the way. just
Yeah.
expect it. But, I mean, how often in Tappy Toes do we see a child having an off day? It's like they
Yeah.
come in
All kids
sometimes.
do. Yeah. You know.
So, and also just remember that this time passes quickly. So just embrace it. It's a magical time. It's a great
Mm.
time.
They develop and they learn so quickly. That was the one thing that blew me away from reception to my son's in year 2. What he has learned in that time, by weeks, 1 week to the next, the knowledge that he comes home with, it's phenomenal. It really is. It's crazy to watch them grow like that. You don't see it at first, the first few weeks, and then suddenly you're like, oh wow, you know that, or you've been talking about this, and they do little projects, and suddenly he'll give me some facts on the Great Fire of London. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah,
It's great. It's
it's
great.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
definitely.
So I
Mm,
just wanted to finish off with a little sentence, I think, that sums up really probably what we've been talking about. And it says,
mm,
children are learning how to be humans, and sometimes they need to space to get it wrong before they get it right.
yeah, yes, yeah, definitely. If you've got a child who's an absolute perfectionist, not getting it right, it's really hard. It's a really hard lesson. Um, Yeah, often when I'm doing my homework with him, I'll get it wrong, especially if it's maths. And I'm like, oh well, now I've learnt the right way. It's funny and it happens and we just deal with it. Um, gosh, yeah,
I think it goes for
that's a
adults as
lot.
well. There's a
Yeah,
lot of things we get wrong before we get
yeah,
it right. So,
yeah.
so
Cool.
there we
So
go.
what would your last bit of advice be for parents then? We've talked about stuff that can prepare children to be ready. What can prepare a parent to be emotionally
Ooh,
ready for school? I
that's
don't
a
know. I
tough
don't
one.
have an answer for that.
It's
As a parent rather than as a teacher.
Yeah. So as a parent, it would be, what would it be? Let me think. Embrace it. Just
Yeah,
absolutely embrace as much of it as you can. I mean, like I said, I've got a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old who's just gone off to high school. And those primary years it just seems like yesterday since I had this
yeah,
little boy that was going in through that door to start his
yeah,
school journey. So embrace it. Yeah.
yeah,
And everything that
yeah.
comes with it.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you, Emma. I hope that has given people, well, it's a lot to think about. It's quite
Oh
funny
yeah.
when you start to break it down. You're like, actually, there's a lot. I often talk to parents when my kids are graduating to go off to school, and you just try and like grab a few nuggets to sort of hand on to them, just so they've got something to kind of be prepared for. But yeah, once they're in the system, they adapt so quickly. Um,
hmm
yeah, and you look back at all those initial kind of nerves, and yeah, they're absolutely. It seems like a world away now, but yeah, have faith in your children. They will be
Yeah.
absolutely fine. And as I say at the school gates, I do a superhero walk away, which is basically I just walk away from whatever's happening behind me and I never look back. Because real
Yeah.
heroes, yeah, just don't look at the explosion, just keep walking. Just go and
Brilliant.
take a breath, and you don't have to join the PTA, you don't have to be actively engaged in your kids' learning, you just have to create space for them and
Yes.
let them come to you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great.
Brilliant. Thank
That's
you.
cracked it. We'll do secondary school next week then. Prepare you for a teenager, which I am not prepared for at all. Not ready. Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Emma,
you.
and I hope that was really helpful. As always, we are here, we're a resource, so hit me up with any messages. If you've got any specific questions, I'm sure Emma would be happy to answer them as well. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Bye bye.
Tappy Chat.